Okay, here we have a problem that says a miniature Yorkshire Terrier, one of the smallest dogs, may weigh only 500 grams, but a St. Bernard, the heaviest dog, could easily weigh 90 kilograms. What is the difference in the weights of the two dogs in kilograms? Okay, well, just trying to figure out what's going on here. Here's their real question. What is the difference in the weights of the two dogs in kilograms? Well, what does the word difference mean? That tells us that we're going to be doing some subtraction. We're actually going to be subtracting the weights of the two dogs in kilograms. So let's look at the weights of the two dogs. Our first dog, our Yorkshire Terrier, that thing weighs 500 grams. And our St. Bernard weighs 90 kilograms. Well, if I'm going to be looking at subtracting these, because that's what it says, find the difference, but it also says in kilograms. Well, our St. Bernard is already identified as being in kilograms, but our Yorkshire is not. It's in grams. So we really need to figure out how many kilograms that is before we can do the subtraction. So if you'll remember from your mnemonic device, we could write out our prefixes. And now if I want to go from grams, which is original units, to kilograms, I would have to move 3 spaces to the left. So moving 3 spaces to the left would put that as 0.5 kilograms. Now they're both in the same units and we can do the subtraction. So if we have 90 kilograms and we subtract off 0.5 kilogram, well, this requires that we understand how to subtract decimals. And when we're subtracting decimals, remember we have to line the decimal up. So we have to write it as 90 point minus 0.5 in that correct lineup. Now, because we don't have anything here to subtract the 5 from, that means we're going to have to borrow. So in borrowing, here, that would make that a 9 and a 10. So 10 minus 5 would be 5. Keep our decimal nice and lined up. And if we couldn't borrow from here originally, did we? I missed that step because there was 0 here, so we had to borrow from the 9, which turns that into an 8. Borrow it over here and made that a 10. Then we could borrow. Sorry about that. Got a little bit ahead of myself there. Now 9 minus nothing would be 9, and 8 minus nothing would be 8. So it looks like the difference in these two dogs in kilograms would be 89.5 kilograms. Let's see what else they're asking us to do here. Here we have another one. I'll try not to make a goofy mistake this time. Here this one says an adult human body contains about 5 liters of blood. Okay, so we're working with 5 liters in the human body. Okay, I'm just going to jot that down. Now it says if each beat of the heart pumps 70 milliliters of blood. So each heartbeat is about 70 milliliters. How many times must the heart beat to pass all of the blood through the heart? Round to the nearest whole number of beats. Well, if our heartbeat is measured in milliliters and the total amount of blood is measured in liters, we really need these to be the same before we can talk about it. So let's figure out how many milliliters is 70 milliliters is equivalent to how many liters. Well, again, if you do your mnemonic device, in order to change from milliliter over to liter, we need to move our decimal 3 places, again, to the left. So that would be the same thing as saying 0.07 liters. Now, if I want to figure out how many of these are in here, I need to do the division. So we're going to take 5 and divide that by 0.07. Now this requires that you remember how to divide decimals. We can only divide by a whole number, so we need to move our decimal over 2 places and line it up. And now we're taking 7 into 500. So let's see, that'll go into there 7 times. Eventually we're going to get 71.4, which would round to 71 heartbeats.